I'm about as cozy as you could be right now. I have a little afternoon coffee. Don't tell anybody. It's snowing outside. Some ASMR for you. I'm in a little cable knit sweater, which, if you guys want the inside scoop, which I'm sure you do, I got this at Goodwill, and I'm like, this is the find of the century. It fits me perfectly. I see like cable knit crew neck sweaters like this running for like $200 for some luxury brands. I was like, this literally fits me like a glove, and it's amazing. I wore it twice, and then I went to put it on after I showered. There's a hole in the armpit. A big one. A big hole in the armpit. So I guess undershirts are going to be the move for this, or I can go get it fixed. But I thought you would all be really curious to learn more about the hole in my armpit of my sweater. Hello, party people. Welcome to the first episode of how I'm going to basically do a lot of long form content moving forward. It's just going to be more of me yapping. I mean, you can call it whatever your heart desires. It's kind of a podcast, kind of a vodcast. Either way, I'm always going to have a hole in my armpit, which is great. Kind of like a little fireside chat if I had a fireplace that worked and if I was FDR. The goal of this series and this podcast format and structure is pretty simple. I want to just dive into topics that interest me, and they're going to change, every week or every time that I'm able to get one of these episodes out. So I think it's going to be really fun just to pick on random topics and random ideas and just chat about them for a little bit. And then hopefully, if you're watching this and you're curious too, feel free to leave a comment on your thoughts of what I bring up. If you agree on my life cycle of the meme that we're going to talk about, and we can go from there. A real community space, if you will. Then the second goal is pretty obvious, is to get my own Fortnite skin. So we'll see. I'm going to keep posting these until I get my own Fortnite skin, I think. You read the title of this video, right? We're going to be talking about the life cycle of the modern meme, 6'7" and whatnot. This interests me because I have a marketing background, so I'm always very interested in what brands are doing in relation to digital culture. And I also currently work in the creator space, so I'm kind of chronically online, which is great. Very good for my mental health. So this kind of falls into the intersection of two of my interests for sure, and I'm excited to share my thoughts with you all and see if you agree and see if this was worth your time. The big two questions that I was thinking about is how do things circulate around our digital culture, and then how do the older generations and also brands try and get involved in those things? It's always something that really interests me. So without further ado, I made the circle of life basically for memes. I guess I am become meme, Elon Musk. Speaking of Elon Musk, did anyone else see the video of him talking about Grok on Joe Rogan? He did this whole side tangent on this podcast. Not that I watch Joe Rogan, but I saw the clip. I'll play a portion of it here so you know what I'm talking about.
If you want to have a good time or make people really laugh at a party, you can use Grok and you can say, do a vulgar roast of someone. And Grok is gonna be an epic vulgar roast. You can even say take a picture of make a vulgar roast of this person based on their appearance of people at the party.
So take a photo of them.
Yeah, just literally point the camera at them and now do a vulgar roast of this person, and then keep saying no, make it even more vulgar.
This is the funniest thing in the world to me. Do a vulgar roast, do an epic vulgar roast, make it meaner. Tear them apart. Bro, you're gonna pull this out at a party, take a picture of someone and say, do an epic vulgar roast. What do you mean, bro? You're gonna speedrun having absolutely no friends is what you're gonna do, and probably getting kicked out of the party. Do an epic vulgar roast. Bro, shut the fuck up. Respectfully. No one is gonna do that shit, and it's not funny, and it's not original, because it's coming from AI, which is just pulling from other places in the internet, other places of people having original thoughts and actually trying to be funny probably, or maybe mean, and roasting somebody. It's just pulling from that. It's not creating an original thought or idea. So why is that even remotely entertaining? I'd rather talk with my friends and the people that I'm with and not pull out my phone and take a picture of them. Just have AI generate a stupid caption. What are we talking about? Anyway, I made the circle of life for memes, and it's a wheel. The wheel has 6 phases. It's origin, climb, a cultural peak, an awareness peak, burnout, and then death. What is interesting about the wheel, though, is I see it kind of having two versions. Wheel A is essentially like what I just described. It has a set beginning with the origin and an end with death. There's a lot of memes that end here. I'll show you some examples of this as we get to it. One of them being Big Dick Energy and the other being the It's Corn Kid as the two that I pulled. So we'll talk about that in a bit. But there's also a part B to the wheel, or wheel B, which I see as the image that you've probably seen before of the snake eating its own tail, aka what is known as like the Ouroboros is what it's called technically. This is a symbol that's like been around forever in a lot of cultures. I'll read like the little definition here so we're all on the same page. The Ouroboros is an ancient symbol of a snake or dragon eating its own tail, representing the eternal cycle, unity, the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. So why do I bring this up when we're talking about memes? What does this mean for the meme lifestyle? I think there's some select few memes out there that experience burnout and possibly like even death at some point, only to be reborn like the phoenix with some new origin or like a big popular culture moment, and that kind of starts this cycle over again. And we're experiencing one of those right now with 6-7. I mean, it's actually crazy. So I think that's like the perfect time to like start thinking about that and like how our culture interplays with these different memes in these different ways, and like what makes something a wheel A meme and what makes something a wheel B meme. It's very interesting to me. So now that we have an idea of what the wheel is, again, origin, climb, cultural peak, awareness peak, burnout, and then death, and then the wheel B, you know, that will eventually restart over again, kind of in a circle loop forever. Let's chat more about some case studies that I find very interesting. We can start with the first one, BDE, Big Dick Energy. That we all know this very well. Obviously, the origin of this was big on Twitter starting in 2018. Wow, I'm old as hell. I remember when this started. And honestly, it started like as a pretty genuine slang phrase describing like confidence. It kind of predated what we know now as aura. People were like using this very seriously. It's not about like the physical appearance or physically having that be a part of your body, but it's more of like a personality trait and how you carry yourself and how you walk into a room and how people are perceiving you. I think this like kind of got somewhat popular because of what was going on in pop culture at the moment. I think Anthony Bourdain just passed away. People were saying he embodied this in a lot of ways. I'm not sure if that's true. I'm not here to speak on that. People were saying Pete Davidson embodied BDE a lot because he was able to get with like so many beautiful women. I was like his dating history at that time. He was dating Ariana Grande. So like he kind of definitely helped popularize that as well. So like that's kind of the origin of it and the inception. Okay, so now we know the origin of BDE. Let's move over to the second part, which is the climb. BDE like caught fire as a phrase for people to call others in their circles. They would call celebrities that, like I mentioned, Pete Davidson, or like characters in fiction that they loved, you know, like Darth Vader. I don't know, like any character that kind of presents themselves as like a badass. A lot of the time it's like masculine, very macho guys. People say, oh, he has BD. So that's kind of like the climb that took place. I was thinking about this, and I feel like BDE walked so nonchalant and aura could run. You know, that's kind of the mentality that has replaced BDE in our culture these days, is like aura and being nonchalant. It's all the same thing. Now moving over to like the cultural peak, I think it's interesting. Like we have to separate the cultural peak and the awareness peak, and I think it's best done like through these kind of case studies and examples. So the cultural peak, I think, is when BDE transitioned from like a phrase or something you would use to describe somebody over to like a meme and to a template, right? It kind of became ironic to use the phrase, which I think always helps growth is when there's irony and layers to a joke or a phrase. And then I think the template that I mentioned is like replacing the D with anything else. I think like examples like big unemployed energy, like kind of like millennial adjacent humor there. Like it's not anything like that crazy, but that was kind of popular at the moment, was to say like big unemployed energy or like big puppy energy, like random stuff like that. So it kind of like turned from just a phrase in itself, BDE, over to like a template, like I said earlier. I think that is the cultural peak right there. Like I think that's as big and as relevant and as impactful as BDE ever got. So it sounds so dumb for me to be talking about this so seriously, but like I think that's like the cultural peak for sure. Okay, so now over to the awareness peak. I think this was brought on by the cultural peak. The new formats like increase the reach of like, what is BDE? What are all these kids talking about? This is something we're going to see in a lot of our examples, is like news outlets are going to be picking it up. Brands are going to be starting to use it. Your aunt that's only on Facebook is texting you asking like, hey, what does this mean? Like, why are people saying this and why is it coming up? I mean, I think that's kind of the peak of how everyone knows about it, is when people that you wouldn't think about being like plugged into online culture and online memes or whatever are starting to like ask you questions about it because they saw it on the morning news or they saw it on Facebook on some random post or whatever. I think that's kind of the tell. You're like, oh, this is no longer culturally relevant, but it is reached that peak level of awareness where like this is as big and as well known as this topic or idea is going to be. And for BDE, it followed like that same kind of process, that same timeline of like cultural peak leading into awareness peak, and then your aunt's asking you about it during Thanksgiving. And the awareness peak can lead directly into what I call the burnout stage. I think the awareness peak can actually be like an awareness week or even like a few days in some cases. Like it bleeds directly into the burnout stage, because what causes the burnout is like that lack of cultural relevance, and it's getting spread too thin across different age groups. And once your aunt or whoever is asking you about it, your parents are asking you about it, you're like, all right, this is no longer culturally relevant to me. And obviously like the key driver of burnout in a lot of different ways is overuse. So back to like what that means for BDE is like, it's everywhere you look and nowhere where you want it to be. It's like on brand social media, like really, really funny brand Twitter accounts, never that funny. Like shitty shirts you see walking down the main street of a small town. It's in like bios of the people that you really don't like the most, like it's kind of everywhere that you don't want it to be. It's no longer relevant to you. And this shit is now, unfortunately, cringe. BDE is now cringe at this point in the burnout cycle. And that leads to death, the death of a meme, right? If something stays cringe without like that reignition incident to either further it along or make it ironic or like play on it in some way or have some new development happen, then it's dead. When Zoa, I think is how you pronounce it, or Zoya energy drinks, they launched in 2024. That's 6 years after BDE started. They launched with a marketing campaign, or they dropped a campaign that year that was titled BDE, Big Dwayne Energy. And their spokesman was Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. So 6 years after something, is culturally relevant, random companies are still, trying to capitalize on what once was to promote their product, right? So that's obviously a testament to the burnout and the death stage. I kind of thought that when I saw this in 2024, I was like, there's no way they're actually doing this seriously. Like, what are they doing? There has to be some layers to this or something, but no, they just thought it'd be kind of clever way to touch on popular culture. But yeah, I don't know. I thought it would maybe like come back in a big ironic way because of this, but it just didn't get traction enough at all because it just wasn't relevant enough, really. Like it never just had the legs. So nothing really ended up coming out of it. It stayed dead that marketing director was probably fired. Hopefully they got a new job. But yeah, I mean, that's BDE. That is like classic option A in a nutshell. You know, it's all 6 stages. It's the origin, it's the climb, it's that cultural peak, it's that awareness peak, then it's the burnout, and then a death. And then without that reignition incident or like something to bring it back to popular culture, it's going to stay dead. I'm not saying it's going to be like that forever. It could come back. Like, that's kind of the beauty of online digital culture is like, is anything really dead? Like, once it's out there, it's out there. And, you know, something could come along where that becomes relevant again. We'll just have to wait and see. It's corn. Yeah, it is. It's corn. That was something that happened in 2022. You know, I feel for this kid Tariq, to have that instant fame. I don't know. That may be a topic for a future video, is like the impact of virality on youth. I think about, not in a weird way, I don't think about the Rizzler a lot like that, but I do think about the Rizzler a lot when I see him fighting that Hasbullah guy in a boxing ring. I'm like, this kid is like 8 years old. Why are we making him fight somebody? And I know it's not that serious. I'm probably reading into it, but I think that is probably another topic that I should do, is like the impact of reality on young people, and how, I don't know, unfortunately I don't think we'll see the real impact of that on people until, you know, 5 to 10 years down the line potentially. But, you know, that's just certainly something to think about. But this one seems relatively harmless in the grand scheme of things. So let's go to the origin of It's Corn. And then It's Corn, in my mind, is a type A of the wheel, but I'll touch on why I think it could potentially be a type B down the line. So over to the origin. It's August 2022. Your name is Tariq, and you get asked about corn at the Minnesota State Fair, and the rest is history. It's really just a wholesome clip that goes viral because it's funny and cute. That kind of leads into the climb. Later that same month, TikTok reposts and edits are starting to go crazy. The original video is remixed by, I think, a DJ or producer, Shmoyo. Sorry if I had mispronounced that. And he turns the video into a song. And we all know the song. We all know the power of trending audios on TikTok. It takes, you know, what started as a video and then a song, and it transitions it into a video format that, you know, starts to have a life of its own. You know, it's kind of a crazy thing to witness. So that's really the power of short form video, and taking that song and taking that moment and really running with it. And then sometime after that, we hit the cultural peak, right? Like, meta jokes are starting to appear. Anyone online knows this kid, thinks it's funny, thinks it's a cute moment. The song is haunting your nightmares. It's kind of on repeat in your head always while you're trying to sleep and focus on work or whatever. So that's kind of the cultural peak. There's not like some big moment. It's probably just sometime after that song like really caught fire, and then the format started to take off as well. And now we're seeing kind of the similarities between when I think all the memes reach that awareness peak. Like, Lil Bro is now on late night TV. He's now doing the morning news. The song is charting on music platforms. Your mom just found it on Facebook and sent it to you because she thinks it's cute. Like, that's the kind of telltale signs of that awareness peak where you're like, damn, this is really bigger than online circles. This is everywhere. This is everywhere, and there's no escaping it. Now it's kind of over to the burnout stage where, like, the brands are starting to randomly post about it. You're like, you don't even sell corn. Why are you even talking about this? Your 45-year-old coworker wants to play it every morning as a pick-me-up. No, how about we don't do that? The edits stop. Like, there's no real, like, innovation on the joke. There's no real, like, more innovation on the memes. Like, the edits, there's no growth there. The brands are thinking, like, how can we use this kid in our marketing while he's hot? We got to get a campaign out now, even though they're already too late. And by the end of 2022, It's Corn is dead. It's really just like a nostalgic reference that we can look back on and be like, oh yeah, that's something that happened. I don't think there's like an Ouroboros, like there's no Wheel B here for It's Corn and Tariq, unless he were to be pivotal and like post his own content in a new video, right? Like, imagine we see the It's Corn kid in 3 years with his own TikTok and he's making new songs or he's making new viral moments or something, or he's a corn farmer, you know. There's so many layers to this, so many things that he could do if that's interests him at all. I don't blame him for not wanting to touch the online digital space with a 1,000-foot pole for the rest of his life. So I think it's dead until he's back in the cultural zeitgeist, and I'm not sure if that will happen. So yeah, that's its corn. And then the last one is ongoing. The last one we're currently living in, it's ongoing, and it's 6'7". It's 6'7". I know everyone has seen that guy. Setting the world record, 6'7". I don't think I could do it. The origin, we recently lived this. I don't need to dive too deep into the wheel here, but I do think it's interesting because I think it's a wheel bee. It's a wheel bee. It's an Ouroboros that's kind of continuing to eat its own tail. So the origin, we all know it's like funny because it's random. There's the 6'7" song. The climb, it was like spread like wildfire. It was spearheaded by like the younger generation, like in classrooms and online spaces. Obviously TikTok edits. It's unescapable because the numbers 6'7" are literally everywhere that we see. So it's going to naturally spread like wildfire because it's everywhere already, right? We definitely are past like the original cultural peak. I don't have like a moment to hang the hat on there because it was so widespread and really everywhere. But like the awareness peak was pretty clear to me when like parents were starting to ask about it. I'm seeing like so many teacher creators on TikTok being like, this is what 6'7" means. Everyone's asking me that. So that's all my students are saying. Like, that's kind of when I'm like, okay, that's where the awareness peak is. I'm sure like there's been news stories on it and like explainer videos go viral on Facebook, I'm sure. So it's definitely hit the awareness peak once. The burnout, I think it was just like a slow decrease in relevance, but the last stage is death, but I don't think it ever really died. I think it actually was reborn because it's everywhere, because all these moments are popping up randomly that are bringing it back into the culture and bringing it back to being relevant. Natasha Bedingfield is screaming it for some reason at a concert. That is hilarious. That's amazing. It's popular in the streamer world, you know, and various clips and stuff like that. Brand involvement is actually somewhat funny with this for some reason. I don't know why. Actors are laughing at it when an interviewer says 6'7" or something in like a very serious interview. Like all these little moments are like circulating it back into being relevant and being more ironic. I think 6'7" is an Ouroboros because it's always been ironic. Like it started from somewhere that we all kind of knew it was dumb and stupid. Even the younger generation that honestly spearheaded this and started it knew it was pretty dumb and stupid, but it has nowhere else to go now besides becoming more ironic and honestly more funny as time goes on. I do think this will like die out in culture at some point soon. Like it's not going to be incredibly popular forever. Like there's not going to be continued like rap songs about it. Brands will probably start to get involved too much, and then it's obviously always less cool. But I really do think this Ouroboros with 6'7" has done something that most modern memes can't, and that's stick with you. I feel like we're definitely like in a world of speed running, dopamine consumption. Like we all know the lines and the stats about our decreasing attention spans. Like it's pretty rare for something to be that sticky and change the way that your brain is wired and the way that you think of things and the way you experience life. Like it might not continue to be like the most relevant thing in online spaces and like a relevant meme, but you're probably going to want to smirk every time you're number 67 at the deli, or you probably will crack a smile anytime your total is 367 at the gas station, anytime your grandma is talking about how it took her 6 to 7 tries to open this jar of whatever. Like that's profound impact because it's changing the way that you perceive the world. And I think that's like a testament to the power of online digital culture. Like I think this is going to stick around for a long time in the same way we all have different relationships with 69 and 420. And it's just like one of those funny numerical things that are going to be a part of culture probably forever. And I think there's something beautiful about that. There's something quite unifying. And And I think that's where my thoughts on the issue end. I'm not saying I have all the answers. I'm just saying this is something that interests me. And this is stuff that I naturally just think about. And it's fun to be able to put that out there into the world for people to watch. So yeah, I mean, thanks so much for watching to this point. If you've actually watched all of this, that's crazy. With this format, I'm going to do some recurring segments at the end of the video as well. So let's dive into that really quickly with the remaining time in the video. The first is content recommendations. This is going to be like traditional media or digital media. Today it's traditional media, and it's The Chair Company by Tim Robinson. It's on HBO Max. The final episode airs tonight, so hopefully I'm not dating myself too much with the editing speed. But it is genuinely, like, it's hilarious. It is so funny. The mystery of the show is actually very engaging. Tim Robinson is a comedic genius, and a lot of you, if you're watching this, you probably already know Tim Robinson or think he's funny. You're probably a big I Think You Should Leave fan. I think Chair Company is the perfect gateway into the world of Tim Robinson for those of you with friends or partners or family that you've probably showed I Think You Should Leave to and they don't think it's funny. I think if you show them The Chair Company first, they'll be invested in the characters and the mystery and kind of the tortured life of this guy who's seemingly a very normal guy, and like how he kind of slowly unravels over time in a pretty hilarious way. So that's the content rec for you. For music recs, I've been doing a 2025 one song a day playlist, so you can check that out like on my Instagram. It should be linked in my link tree. But the two standouts for me right now are Maria from the Marias has a solo album that she released in October called Melt, and her oh my god, I'm getting choked up about it. And her solo artist name is Not For Radio. I would highly recommend. It's like a very chill, it fits this season of life very well. You know, it's like very moody, chill, perfect fall into winter transition album. I would highly recommend. And second, I have to shout out Post Animal. They're an awesome alt rock band. I just saw them live not that long ago. If you like Joe Keery, it's basically all of his band members in a band. Joe Keery was in this band at one point, and they rock. They're sick. So check them out, or don't. I don't care. It's time for Matt's tip of the week. I have two this week. To change your air filter, because I didn't change mine after I turned my heat on, and it was super, super gross. And second is, don't leave your stove on. Don't get so busy during the day that you accidentally leave your gas stove on low for like 2 hours, because I did that a couple weeks ago, and I'm still a bit shook from it. And I feel like someone watching this, like, needs that reminder to, like, slow down a little bit. Turn off your stove. Okay, well, that's all I have. I think I'm going to fix the hole in my armpit. I'm going to try and stitch that up. I'm going to edit this video and enjoy the rest of my Sunday. But thank you so much for watching. I think the next episode, don't hold me to this, but I really want to dive into, like, Ticketmaster and how the ticketing system in America got so fucked up and why everything is so expensive, why there's so many fees, all of that good stuff. Yeah, so hopefully see you on the next one. Seriously, like, if you're at this point, I don't even know how long the final edit will be, but like, it means a lot. I post a lot of short form videos on TikTok and Instagram, but like, this is a format that I'm really excited about and I'm going to continue doing. So feel free to subscribe if you're liking the first episode, and if not, that's okay too. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Okay.